All right, let's dive into one of the most foundational stories ever told. An ancient story that claims to explain, well, why our world is the way it is. We're breaking down Genesis chapter 3, and the title really says it all: When Everything Broke. So the way the story starts is pretty incredible. When the world was first formed, God's description for it was simple: very good. And the text paints this picture of, perfect harmony. Everything, and I mean everything, from the stars down to the smallest creatures, was just working perfectly, just as it was meant to be. But who would say that now? Seriously, you look around today at all the conflict, the pain, the daily struggle, nobody's calling this very good. It's just so obvious to all of us that something is, well, it's just off. Something is fundamentally broken. And that's really what we're digging into here, because this ancient story, Genesis 3, it actually claims to have the answer. It tackles that huge question we all ask: what went wrong? It says, hey, I can show you the exact moment it all fell apart. Okay, so to really get what went wrong, we first have to understand what went right. We have to go back to the beginning, to that very good world. We really need to get a feel for that state of perfect harmony to appreciate just how massive the loss was. Right. So you have this perfect world. And then something new enters the picture. An outside voice. And it's not loud or aggressive, it's subtle, it's deceptive. And it starts to plant these little questions that chip away at the very foundation of all that harmony. Now, it's super important to understand what the story means by evil here. It's really specific. It's not some substance, like a dark force that God made. No, the text presents it as a corruption of the will. It's something a person becomes. It's described as a moral catastrophe. And that catastrophe, it doesn't start with a bang. It starts with a whisper. It isn't a flat-out lie, but a twisting of the truth. Just this one little question: did God really say? It's designed to just crack open the door of doubt, to make you rethink everything. And what happens next follows this pattern that, honestly, it's timeless. It's a three-step process. First, there's doubt. The question is planted in the mind. Then, that doubt sparks desire in the heart. You start wanting the one thing you can't have. And that desire, well, it leads right to disobedience. The will finally just crosses the line.
And right there, that's the moment, the hinge of the whole story. One single choice is made, and the fallout, it's immediate, it's catastrophic, and it changes everything, forever.
Talk about a bait and switch. I mean, look at this. The expectation, the big promise was this godlike wisdom and power. But the reality, the second they make the choice, it's the complete opposite. It's just this gut-wrenching shame and this immediate, powerful need to hide. And think about that for a second. The very first human reaction to messing up isn't, okay, how do I fix this? No, it's hiding, covering up, and pointing the finger at someone else. That open, trusting relationship they had, gone. In an instant, it's replaced by fear and blame shifting. So the consequences here, they aren't small. We're not talking about a little crack. The story describes this as a complete fracture of reality itself. 3 core relationships that literally defined all of existence, they just shatter all at once. And you can see the total system failure right here. It's like a domino effect. First, the connection between humanity and God breaks, and because that's the central one, everything else just falls apart. The harmony with creation? Gone. The harmony with each other? Gone too. So here's a really crucial piece of the story's logic. If God is actually good, then he can't just look the other way. He can't just ignore this moral train wreck. He has to act. And so judgment isn't just random punishment. It's presented as a necessary, just consequence. And this judgment completely rewrites what it means to be human. Suddenly, there's pain in childbirth. There's frustration and sweat in our work. There's conflict baked into our relationships. Even the earth itself seems to fight back. And then the big one. For the first time ever, death becomes part of the human story. Okay, but just when things seem completely hopeless, the story does something really unexpected. Right there, hidden inside all that judgment and cursing, there's this paradox. We see the very first flicker of mercy. And it's not some big, loud announcement. It's a quiet action. Right in the middle of spelling out all the consequences, grace shows up. It's like a whisper in the middle of a hurricane. And here it is. This is the act. God himself steps in and clothes them, covering their shame. The text really zeroes in on this, because an animal had to die to make that covering. It's this powerful symbol that even while handing out judgment, God is already providing a way to cover their guilt. And then there's this absolutely stunning promise, almost buried in the text, a prophecy that a seed, a descendant, is going to come someday. And yeah, he'll get wounded in the fight, but he will be the one to land the final crushing blow on evil itself. And that right there, that sets up this incredible tension between justice and mercy that basically fuels the entire rest of the biblical story. Okay, so let's bring it all home. Why does this ancient story matter to us, like today? What's the takeaway from Genesis 3 for you and me? Well, the takeaways are pretty huge. For one, the story offers an explanation for why our world just feels so broken. It also says, yep, evil is a real thing, and our choices, they matter a lot. But maybe the most important part is this. It shows that even though God takes this stuff incredibly seriously, he hasn't walked away. He has not abandoned us. Now, the Bible's story definitely doesn't end in this garden, not by a long shot. But you have to understand, everything that comes next, every bit of conflict, every hero, every act of judgment, it all flows from this one single moment. And so that leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? If this is the story of how the world broke, if this is the diagnosis for why we feel that brokenness every single day, then what's the story of how it gets fixed?